Welcome to Metropole Television. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage, but most certainly, welcome to Business AM. This is your official sector trends. And one thing you're going to agree is that we are still within the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, we are adjusting to live with it and do business with it, but then there is no denying that we are right within the pandemic fourth wave, so to say. Now today, we look at how the manufacturing sector, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, has also managed to survive the shifts and trends and what that means for the market moving forward. Joining us today in the studio is Mr. Njagi Hari, who's the marketing manager, Mabati Rolling Mills. Mr. Njagi, welcome to Metropole Television.
Thank you so much.
Let's begin from that introduction.
Yeah.
When you look at members in your sector, and we're talking about the manufacturing sector,
Yeah.
you were heavily hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. We do know that the imports were also heavily affected,
Yeah.
and the business environment also heavily affected in 2020.
Yeah.
It is 2021 now. We've seen a majority of corporates give us their results. It looks as if things might be turning around.
Yeah.
Is that the general feeling and mood in the manufacturing sector?
Thank you for the question. So I'll start talking by Mabati Rolling Mills being
Yes.
a steel manufacturer. So
Yes.
see the whole manufacturing sector fundamentally is quite well structured in different industries.
Yes.
So if I talk about the steel industry, which is the segment that that we operate, I would say yes, in a sense, because I think as businesses, and like Mabati, we've been there for 60 years,
Yes.
almost now.
Yes.
And I think we are a resilient organization, and the industry itself was affected primarily because, COVID is a people problem initially.
Yes.
Everyone thought it was a people person. It's almost a personal problem,
Yes.
Are you getting tested? Are you, But then I think we were quick to realize that we had to plan with a very long-term view, in the way we responded to COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, if we just looked at it like a cough that is passing tomorrow in one season and gone, then I think we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yes.
So the initial response to COVID in 2020 was quite severe, I must say. We, as a company, actually shut down for almost a month, just to understand and recalibrate and reconfigure the operations, so that, because the first step was securing the people, and I think that has really paid off in the long term.
Yes.
Because you realize in manufacturing, the market is one, then there is the machines, they have a big investment to do machinery.
Yes.
But man, without a single human being putting his finger to a button, nothing happens.
Then nothing happens.
So I think the investment by manufacturing industry, or especially in our industry, or for us in this case,
Yes.
to invest in people has paid off in the long run. But we took very deliberate actions. Number one is shutting down, just saying, what, let's figure this thing out first. Are we going to build dormitories in the factories? These are kind of scenarios that we played out.
Yes.
So we had a whole, you could say, a whole, worst case scenarios and everything else. Yeah.
Yes.
So to the point of, I remember saying, maybe we should build dormitories so that we can create, secure these guys, because if they're going to be working and going home
and coming
then
back.
how do we create safe bubbles
Yes.
within the environment they work?
Yes.
But then, there are labor issues there. Then, how would you effect that? The law doesn't allow you to confine people to,
Yes.
to this kind of thing. So I think,
Yes.
I would say by and large, from a local perspective, the industry players that looked at the safety and welfare of their people,
Yes.
I think are by and large able to survive, because number one, people are trained. There was, when the innovation, when the immunizations came, we really tried to put the frontline people, like our sales employees, everyone, to get vaccinated. And in a sense, you find within the majority of the manufacturing industries, I think in the private sector, there is a more willingness for employees to get immunized.
Yes.
And that also pays off in the long run. Then just the whole thing of, then we started now, the whole following the protocols, the government protocols, which were very useful, because I think you may have ignored them, then it was at your own peril. So at Mabati rolling mills, we already started working at home. You know, you can imagine this is a manufacturing industry, and you have to configure your shifts. Number one is, you know, reduce the number of shifts,
Yes.
reduce the number of employees on site at any given time. That meant you kind of had to slow down in terms of production. So that affected our productivity last year. In that sense, you know, that, you know, you have to sacrifice in the number of shifts. If your shift is 200 people, for instance, then you can only do half.
Yes.
So then, therefore, you have to invest in you know, how do you gear your machinery so that it gives you, you know, more productivity. So how do you work within, you know, the whole planning schedules were optimized to ensure that we get maximum productivity from the machines with the minimum employees you could. And
Yes.
we're not talking about automation. It's just, you know, investing in a bit more into the mechanical bit of things than where you need human intervention.
Yes.
Then, of course, working from home. You know, we got guys working from home, and you have shifts now, and it's become a way of life. And I think quickly, you know, people adapted to that environment, and I think now productivity is back to normal, and even if, you know, we suffer right now, you know, because it's still here with us.
Yes.
I think we still keep in the benefits. Then I would say also, you know, what affected us massively was a disruption of supply chain.
Yes.
So,
that's a
and that
big
was
area,
global,
isn't it?
especially,
Yes.
you know, most of us are relying, you know, 100% on imports for raw
Yes.
material.
Yes.
For our steel, there's no steel in Kenya. So, because we're bringing all the steel from Japan, you know, the shipping lines, everything
got
went haywire
disrupted, yes.
for almost half of the whole of last year. So that also meant that, you know, we have to start planning with longer lead times. You know, we learned, you know, planning with a 3-month cycle is not going to help
It's not
you.
going to help
So
you.
you
Yes.
have to invest behind that, you know, and you know, our partners and everyone and I think everyone in the business environment generally kind of, you know, was quite responsive. And I think that supply chain disruption issue has kind of, you know, we've been able to come against that by, you know, making better long-term plans, like
Yes.
I said, and keeping a very close pulse on the market, you know, yeah, because then you have to really be, you know, keep the just-in-time manufacturing so that you have just enough, you have enough to meet the market demand.
Yes.
And you also have enough to put into the factories for raw material. Yeah,
Pretty
so,
much.
yeah.
So another area that you work for an industry that was classified as the non-defensive, in the sense of people would say, wow, we're still within the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
We do not need to construct anymore. Hold back.
Yeah.
Let's wait a little bit before we continue with our investments.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that hit? That indeed you might be talking about your supply chains getting affected. Just trying to really arrange your workforce so that you are also protecting them at the same time. But then the demand within the economy in a 2020, did you feel that hit? Or, well, that's just a conversation that industry was non-defensive?
You know, I was just looking at the Kenya statistical abstract. It will
Yes.
shock you.
Yes.
If you look at, and I have no reason to explain this, I don't know why, but it is the facts,
Yes.
as, you know, by the government.
Yes.
Houses that were registered residential houses, you know, people that sought registration for houses to be constructed last year in Kenya, up to May was
Yes.
about 60,000. You know, generally in Kenya, people don't register. It's only the guys in the urban centers where supervision is quite stringent.
Yes.
Yeah, and, you know, regardless of what happened yesterday. So there's a lot of registration of houses in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, the main counties.
Yes.
Was about 70,000 up to May of last year.
Yes.
This year, it's half or less than half.
It's an
So
interesting
it was an
statistic,
interesting
isn't it?
development in that sense. You'd
Yes.
say, I think people, you know, we say housing is, you know, we are, for us, you know, now then, maybe it is only unique to the construction
Yes.
industry
Yes.
within which we play, that either, and you see that is bigger in the residential segment.
Yes.
So I think when Corona hit, there was, you know, human beings and, you know, the whole the hierarchy of needs, basic needs, survival mode checked in probably, and I'm just hypothesizing probably
Yes.
then, but the facts are there.
Yes.
More people went out to build, to complete their houses. I think we all had time to do this. You know, I've talked to contractors, I've talked to installers, I've
Yes.
talked to people in the industry, and it seems number one is there was time in hands of people. The way Kenyans build, well, wenyewe, do it yourself.
You do it where you're
we really encourage contractors.
Come in with the contractor clear
So,
the job, come look at it.
You have a plot somewhere, you have
Yes.
a plot somewhere in Juja or in Lavington, wherever it is, that
Yes.
God has blessed you with. And you still want to be the one who, hey, you buy the stones, you buy the cement, you are there on the
Yeah,
side every
yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
So I think that do-it-yourself building freed up, I mean, Corona period freed up a bit of time for people.
Yes.
That's one.
Yes.
And there was an excess of need. You know, jobs were going out, you know. People were losing jobs. There was uncertainty. And everyone rushed to safeguard their families. To the point of, you know what, things can go south.
Yes.
So if I have that house in the rural areas where I have not finished, I rush to go and finish it. And we saw a bit of a spike just in registration. And there was a bit of corresponding reflection in demand.
Yes.
In our industry.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can see it. It's still kind of the same.
It's still
this
kind
year.
of the same,
Yeah.
isn't
So from a demand perspective,
Yes.
it wasn't that severe.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It wasn't very severe in that sense, because
Yes.
I think we are dealing in a segment that is meeting demand for residential. But projects, you're right. Then the other segment of big projects,
Yes. Sort
they
of
went down.
dip.
So these are big projects, mega structures. You
Yes.
know. All the big infrastructure projects came to a halt. Anything that had not started did not start.
Did not start.
Yeah. So again, then you see that reflected in the opposite direction. So last year, yes, the projects were depressed. So if you're meeting demand into that segment, then they affected you more. So because you're playing more in residential than projects, it was a bit of an advantage.
Yes.
So this year you see the reverse. The big projects now are waking up. You know, you can see all the roads are
Yes,
up.
yes.
So the big projects are going up, and you know the mass housing projects will go up. But then the residentials then suddenly has just
Quietened as well.
quietened as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and then for us that is to ensure that we play into both segments as much as we can.
Yes.
Yeah, by providing products that can meet these demands
Yes.
as they are. Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about another area this morning, Mr. Njagi. When you look at it, I mean, yes, we got into the coronavirus pandemic, and the government did come in
Yeah.
with a lot of measures just to cushion the local companies from the effects of the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
They did push to you a couple of things here and there in terms of tax reprieves.
Yeah.
But let me get this, and it would be good for you to give us just an accurate measure of what you think where we are as a sector, or how the government really views your sector.
Yeah.
They put a key focus on it. They say that this country needs to ride on the manufacturing sector.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of things, at least on paper. Do you feel the effect of those things down here? And I would like you to start on a very, very important area, the cost of power, downwards to the things that you're dealing with right now.
Yeah. But it's a mixed bag, I could say. But I must say, you know, I must commend the government as
Yes.
well. I think number one is having the intention
Yes.
to support and build manufacturing is noble, and it should be pursued to great length. You know, we have great human resource capacity, yeah, and that is good for the manufacturing industry, because it's not hard to get engineers who can work in our factories.
Yes.
You know, the whole range of engineering skills is there. And I would say, I would commend the government in investing in education, in the sense that we have an education system that is churning out, as you would say, graduates, or, you know, at all levels that serve the manufacturing and needs of the broader economy. In that
Yes.
sense,
Yes.
that is good. And you know, that is important for the industry to grow. Without that human people, as I say, without the right people, then manufacturing will not grow, because then you'll have to rely on importing skills and stuff like this. And we don't suffer that as much in our industries, or in manufacturing in general in Kenya.
Yes.
And then, but then of course, then the whole intention of, among the big four. And there was a lot of consultation, by the government, in the development of the agenda for, when the manufacturing pillar, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I'm sure if you talk to them, they'll tell you, they were widely consulted, How do you see yourself playing into this? I think from an intentional perspective, I wouldn't blame of what the government.
Yes.
And they have done very well, and how, there was very high level consultations to see how is manufacturing connecting with, say, affordable housing, because that was a place for, how do you get things like, say always, they always said, we need to have local content then infused into infrastructure.
Yes.
We have big projects coming on, and how much of our local manufacturers are being allowed to play in the supply, as opposed to in cases where you find up to 80% of all the material that is provided in a big government project is foreign. It's coming from outside in ships and in containers, and life goes on. That's not it.
Yes.
It should not be that way, because, and that, for me, I would say, the results is what matters then eventually. So there is work to be done in the area of local content,
yes,
to ensuring that, if it's a housing scheme, why the hell would we have less than 10% local content? And local content, I mean, with the exception of probably just the stones that are being bought from the quarries,
yes,
and the sand.
We have nothing other than that.
Maybe fine, we have cement now,
yes,
but sometimes the steel is coming all the way from God knows,
yes,
and how we have local manufacturing steel companies here that have employees, have families, it's a whole network.
Yes.
So, and yes, then, unfortunately, then, the cost of fuel. For us, it's a big thing.
It's a big thing,
It affects the entire value chain.
Yes.
Because moving steel from point A to Z will cost you, not less than some X shillings per kilometer, depending on, what machinery you're using to move it. So it's very expensive to carry all the sheets across the country.
Isn't it?
And a lot of all the steel,
yes,
you see. So the moment the price of fuel goes up,
yes,
and if you look at it from, 1 year back to now, I mean, if that is passed down to the consumer,
yes,
then it starts certainly making a lot of things unaffordable. So it affects affordability. The cost of power, you're right, we consume a lot of power.
And I'm sorry to cut you, and that's the area that I really want you to touch on.
Yes.
Every time we hear the players in your industry cry, the cost of power in this country is way high. We want to do proper business. We want to support the local players in this industry and even peg on these other areas of the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
I think they're running away from us because our products have to be expensive because of the cost of the power, which we have to pass to them. Do you think there has been a deliberate intention from the government to say, look, if you're in the manufacturing sector, you have company A, B, C, D, then there is no need for you to pay this much for power? Because that's what you're crying for.
We are, and they try, but it's not enough.
Yes.
Because, and it makes us uncompetitive.
Yes.
The day this road opens up to Ethiopia, where the cost of power is, probably a third to what Kenya is, if not less, you tell me how we'll play. So if Kenya wants to remain as a leader in this region, want to be the leader,
yes,
there are certain fundamental things that the government must very intentionally, apply itself to, and power is. It sticks out. That's the one thing that really is remaining. And it's a whole cost of power and fuel. It's energy generally. It's a cost of energy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know there's talk about nuclear, but when does it come online? But we need to, why are we not generating enough, Yeah. Why is it that, the last Seven Forks project that was supposed to be done 10 years ago never came online? We learned about these things in geography, isn't it?
Yes.
The Seven Forks scheme.
The Seven Forks scheme.
I wonder if they still call it Seven Forks. It's six.
Quite large.
It never became.
It never became.
We learned about it, but the biggest of them was supposed to generate the biggest amount of power through hydro has never come online because of politics. So then again, of course, we have, what is coming out in the Rift Valley, but you see, it's far. But they say then you create the free zones in Rift Valley. But you've already established in Mombasa. Am I going to move all the factories to the Rift Valley? Because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So you're right. In that sense, there's work. There's work to be done.
Yes.
Yeah. So on the energy scorecard, yeah, it's I would give the government a very low score.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All right, let's bring it back to Mabati rolling mills now.
Yes.
It is a 2021. You took a hit in 2020. You had to readjust. The way you're working now, is that going to be the new norm for Mabati rolling mills? Or you're saying, well, a time will come when we won't be having coronavirus pandemic and we'll get back to what we used to be pre-COVID 2019 levels?
There's a business continuity process in place.
Yes.
At MRM.
Yes.
So, and we adjust it.
Yes.
To respond to the realities of the day.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say it will stay or not stay. I think everyone is trying to figure out what works best for them, and so far it's working, and I think it keeps on. The organization is reviewing that from time to time.
Yes.
And I'm very sure, for whatever is in the interest of the person, the people, like I said from the beginning, so long as it works for our employees, for our people, for the safety of the people first.
Yes.
People first. Then if that is a center, I think you can't go wrong. So I think the business continuity processes or plans in place revolve around the people.
Yes.
Yeah, because they are most primary, key resource as a business. And I think that is the philosophy of the company, to be a caring organization for its employees, for the community, and for our customers as well.
Yes.
Because if we don't care for our people, we also don't care for our customers. So that's why we're making sure they're getting, tested, they're getting immunized, they keep social distance when they're serving others. We do all these things also to ensure that, in as much as at least Mabatis can't transmit COVID, then the contact is caring enough.
Yes.
Because I think if there's one thing that COVID brings out is care. I think it's calling to human beings or to businesses to be more caring. Yeah.
Pretty much. All right, let's look at the first 6 months of 2021. When you look at your revenues, are you saying that probably things are now back to where they need to be for Mabati rolling mills?
Like I told you,
yes.
If you saw the registrations now,
yes,
it's worrying. So yeah, you could say it's for us, we have the benefit kind of. You can play into we have a segment that is growing,
yes,
and we have a segment that is flat. So the residential market will remain as it is probably,
yes,
and but as you get into an election year in Kenya, there's always a peak there, or there's always an uncertainty of sorts. So generally that also affects business in Kenya. So I think we are cautious in this year. And we are very optimistic that we will close the year, probably as good as last year.
So you are also in an area that is on the spotlight. People keep on saying we need technology, we need advancements in this area.
Yes.
Is that an area that Mabati rolling mills is always looking into? What is new? What is the industry? What does the industry want? And how quick are these changes that we're talking about?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Actually, if you allow me, let me tell you about something that we are ignoring in this part of the world.
Yes.
It's climate change and the impact of climate change. I think it's very much removed for many of us. We feel like, it's for Europe. It is a European problem, or American. They're having wildfires and all that. But if you look, in the last few years, we are getting extreme weathers coming even in July and June. So yes, we are innovating. So we see the need for insulation, for home insulation, for example.
Yes.
So yes, we've now launched products that make sure that your roof does not become the avenue that brings extreme weather to your house. So we've developed a whole brand called Saftam, which is just a whole range of insulation products.
Yes.
And we are going beyond that to even do paneling, where instead of factories being done completely with just what you'd call steel still cladding or mabati,
Yes.
then we are going to, we've already launched a process or a line that is to do panels that are foam in between, and they are very they provide you a lot of insulation and sound as well. So there's a lot of, you'll soon be hearing us in the solar space as
Yes.
well, because we realize, as I said, energy is a key need
Yes.
in this side. And if you look at our our sun, it's fairly, in many, almost 70% of Kenya
Yes.
are sun throughout the year, and very heavy because you're on the equator. So you can be able to live off the grid fundamentally comfortably, for the
Yes.
whole year,
Yes.
without, sorry, Kenya Power, but that would be eventually the way. People are getting more into solar, and the government probably need to also encourage that more, so that we have better technology available here, and allowing better incentives for manufacturing companies
Yes.
to think and go beyond just providing electricity through what we are waiting for from the current energy. So we are also doing rainwater harvesting solutions, which means we rig up your whole house. You can get a solution that rigs up your whole house,
Yes. complete
with a water tank. But we always tell people, if you're going to drink water that is harvested off a roof, make sure it's treated.
Make sure it's treated.
Because we have no control over how
Yes.
the birds live up there. So,
Yes.
so there's a lot of probably contaminants
Yes.
that can affect you. But so rainwater harvesting is an area we are into now, very big.
Yes.
Insulation, we are in natural lighting. How do we make sure that houses are well lit? Ventilation, how do we ensure that air is flowing? Because if you look at COVID, also that thing they have taught is airflow is critical.
Yes.
For the safety of the people in a house or in a building. So ventilation beyond just recycling air. How do we bring air out of your building, especially in factories? So the whole area of louvers and very advanced air movement solutions generally within big structures. Look
Yes.
at many churches. You go to a church, even if the government says it's a third, but the air doesn't move.
It doesn't move, yes.
Yeah, and there's all this, contamination going on. So how do we ensure that the design of your house or the roof? So we are also getting into the service industry now. Yeah, so that's what we're saying. We are becoming a building solutions company. We are not just a roofing company.
Just a roofing company.
No, we are building solutions company.
And is that the modern customer, that they're not just coming to
Yes.
you for that specific thing that you're making?
You're right, yes.
Since you're in this
Yeah,
industry,
yeah.
what can you give
The
me?
customer is asking
Yes.
for more.
That's it.
Yeah,
isn't
they're
it?
saying,
Yes.
man, I need more.
Yes.
I need to build here. I need this.
That's
So
it,
yes,
yes.
I need water. I
Yes.
need. So we are responding continuously to evolving consumer needs, and we are opening up service centers across the country to ensure that people have access also to services. Because what we are doing now, we also do site supervisions for projects where we are involved. So
Yes.
we have engineers that go to site to ensure that the roof is installed the way it should be installed.
That's true.
To avoid cases of not performing as it should.
Yes.
So it's all just for us to enable ourselves, keep our promise.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mr. Njagi,
Yes.
thank you very much for taking your time to visit us here at Metropole Television.
I appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it.
As Mr. Njagi for you this morning, really talking about exactly how that specific still industry is faring on in a COVID-19, and is raising a very important statistic there. That indeed, when you look at the number of approved residential buildings, especially in a 2021, it's going to be a number that's going to make you think, what's going on? Especially if you compare that with the ones that were approved in a 2020, another area that we actually need to look in. But it's saying you need to keep on readjusting and adjusting, because that is what the business environment now demands. We take a short break here on a Metropole Television. Once we come back, your biggest economic headlines, but especially 6 months of 2021. How have they been for majority of the corporates in the country? Is it an indication that things are going back to pre-COVID-19 levels, or it is for us to wait and see once we come back here on Metropole Television?